Imagine being 19 years old, having just won the World Cup, the European Championship, and every trophy football has to offer. But instead of celebrating with your teammates, you walk across the pitch to embrace the man you just defeated, the man who once held you as a baby in a bathtub, the man who is now sitting on the ground with tears streaming down his face. This is the moment that changed football forever. The MetLife Stadium in New York was electric. 82,000 fans had witnessed one of the most dramatic World Cup finals in history. Spain had just defeated Argentina 1-0 in extra time, with Ferran Torres scoring the only goal in the 106th minute. For Spain, it was their second World Cup title. For Argentina, it was heartbreak. But something else happened after that final whistle, something that no one expected, something that would become the defining image of the 2026 World Cup. As the Spanish players erupted in celebration, Lamine Yamal did something extraordinary. The 19-year-old superstar, who had just made history as the youngest player ever to win both the World Cup and the European Championship, didn't immediately join his teammates. Instead, he dropped to his knees in prayer. Then, he stood up and walked across the pitch. He was walking towards Lionel Messi. Messi, at 39 years old, was sitting alone on the turf. The greatest footballer in history, who had just played his final World Cup match, was staring blankly at the Argentina supporters singing his name. He looked like a broken man. His dream of winning back-to-back World Cups had ended in the cruelest way possible. Then Yamal reached him. The teenager, who had grown up idolizing Messi, extended his hand to help the legend off the ground. Messi stood up, and the two embraced, Barcelona's current number 10 hugging the man who made that shirt legendary. It was a moment that brought the entire stadium to tears. And it was just the beginning. To understand why this moment was so powerful, you have to go back 19 years. In September 2007, a young Lionel Messi, then just 20 years old, participated in a charity photo shoot for Barcelona and UNICEF. The photos were for a calendar to raise funds for children. In one of the photos, Messi was pictured holding a baby in a bathtub, a rubber duck floating between them. The baby was Lamine Yamal, then just 6 months old. At the time, no one knew that this random charity photo shoot would become one of football's most famous photographs. The image sat forgotten for over 15 years. Then, during Euro 2024, Yamal's father reposted the photo on Instagram, and it went viral. The world suddenly realized the baby Messi once held had become one of football's brightest talents. Yamal had joined Barcelona's academy, just like Messi. He had broken all of Messi's youngest player records. And now, he was on track to face his idol on the biggest stage. Before the 2026 World Cup final, Yamal joked about the photo. "I have grown a little, and Leo has too." But after the final whistle, the photo took on an even deeper meaning. The baby in the bathtub had grown up to defeat the man who once held him. And instead of celebrating, he went to comfort his idol. Fans called it a full-circle moment. One commentator described it as like Michael Jordan giving LeBron James a bath. The image of Yamal comforting a crying Messi would become the defining image of the tournament. After the embrace, Yamal revealed what Messi told him, and his words were worth more than any trophy. "He told me to keep going my way, and that the future belongs to our generation," Yamal said at a press conference the following day. Yamal added, "These words are worth as much as the gold medal I am wearing around my neck." For Yamal, hearing these words from his childhood hero was surreal. "If someone had told me a few years ago that I'd be here lifting the World Cup after playing against Lionel Messi, I would have thought they were crazy," he said. Messi's message was a clear passing of the torch. The 39-year-old legend, who had just suffered one of the most painful defeats of his career, put aside his own heartbreak to encourage the teenager who had just beaten him. The moment was captured by photographers and immediately spread across social media. Football fans around the world were stunned. This wasn't just a moment of sportsmanship, it was the changing of the guard. Almost 24 hours after the defeat, Messi took to social media to express his pain. His words revealed just how devastated he was. "The pain is immense, and this wound will take time to heal," Messi wrote. But even in his heartbreak, Messi showed class. "They were better, to be honest," he said after the match. "We lost the game, and we accept that. That doesn't mean that we will forget everything we've done so far." Messi had done everything he could. At 39 years old, he scored 8 goals in the tournament and provided 4 assists. He became only the second player in history to appear in 3 World Cup finals. But it wasn't enough. Argentina coach Lionel Scaloni, visibly emotional when asked whether this had been Messi's final World Cup appearance, burst into tears and left the press conference. "I hope that everyone feels proud of him, of what he's achieved, because he's the best football player ever stepping foot on a pitch," Scaloni said. For Yamal, the victory cemented his place in football history. At just 19 years and 6 days old, he became the youngest player ever to win both a World Cup and a European Championship. He also became the 11th player in history to complete football, winning the World Cup, the Champions League, and the Ballon d'Or. Yamal had already won Euro 2024 with Spain. Now, he had added the World Cup trophy to his collection. He had started in all 8 matches for Spain, playing the full 120 minutes in the final. Despite scoring only 1 goal in the tournament, a group stage strike against Saudi Arabia, his influence was undeniable. Spain coach Luis de la Fuente praised Yamal's maturity. "He has played great football that will help him to mature and be an even greater footballer. He really sacrificed for the collective good." Former England goalkeeper Joe Hart summed it up perfectly. "Lamine Yamal is 19 years old. What a beautiful day for him. He's 19 and has completed football." The embrace between Yamal and Messi was made even more powerful by the chaos that surrounded it. After the final whistle, tensions between the two teams exploded into violence. Nicolas Otamendi furiously confronted Rodri. Leandro Paredes threw Gavi to the floor and grabbed Eric Garcia by the throat. An Argentine coach punched Dani Olmo. Argentina had played a confrontational game from the very first whistle. They committed more fouls than passes in the final third in the first half. Enzo Fernandez was sent off in the 93rd minute for a senseless charge on Pau Cubarsí. In the middle of all this chaos, Yamal ignored the fighting and walked straight to Messi. While his teammates were being attacked, Yamal was showing respect to the man he had looked up to his entire life. It was a moment of pure class that stood in stark contrast to the ugliness around him. Messi, for his part, was a class act as well. Even in his moment of deepest despair, he stood up to embrace Yamal. He put aside his own heartbreak to encourage the teenager who had just beaten him. The 2026 World Cup final will be remembered for many things: Spain's dominance, Argentina's frustration, Ferran Torres' winning goal. But most of all, it will be remembered for that embrace. The image of Lamine Yamal comforting Lionel Messi has become one of the most iconic in football history. It represents the passing of the torch from one generation to the next, the end of one era and the beginning of another. For nearly 2 decades, Messi has been the face of football. He has won everything the sport has to offer: 8 Ballon d'Or awards, for Champions Leagues, a World Cup, and countless domestic titles. He is widely regarded as the greatest player of all time. But now, a new generation is taking over. Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, Jude Bellingham, and Lamine Yamal. Yamal has already achieved what took Messi his entire career to accomplish. He won the European Championship at 17. He won the World Cup at 19. He has the world at his feet. But what makes Yamal special isn't just his talent. It's his character. In a moment of victory, he chose to show compassion to his defeated rival. He chose to honor the man who had inspired him. Messi's tears were heartbreaking, but they also revealed something beautiful: a legend passing the torch to the next generation with grace, dignity, and love. The baby in the bathtub had grown up, and the man who once held him had given him his blessing.